Hey YouTube, Mike the Alpha Hoarder here. Thanks for joining me today. To my old subscribers, thanks so much for coming back. And to my new subscribers, welcome aboard. I appreciate you. So one of the things I've talked about on this channel is the grind, the sort of going all in to chase down your goal. I think lots of people, maybe even most people, have sort of lofty or ambitious goals, plans, whatever. But I suspect that too often people spend their time sort of daydreaming about that goal, you know, talking about it, thinking about it, imagining it, but not actually all that much time running towards it. And so I like to call people to action on that, and I've done it on this channel. Whether your goal is, you know, financial success, career success, a relationship, pursuit of a hobby or passion, you know, whatever it is. Often these things require you to move all in, to grind for many years, and to maintain a sort of at all costs attitude. And I've made the case, and I believe, that people who shoulder that mentality, people who sort of take that to heart into the core of their being, they have better chances of reaching their goals than most people probably think. That's my suspicion. One of the reasons for that is just how steeply the competition falls off. You know, I mean, the moment you take one step towards actively pursuing an ambitious goal, you are now one step ahead of the majority of people, because most people don't take that step. And then, you know, once you're running in a particular direction, there's momentum, there's a feedback loop. You know, you are now sort of primed and positioned to grab opportunities that appear. You'll be able to recognize them, first of all, because you're now familiar with whatever that thing is you're pursuing. And you can grab onto them and not let go. And that puts you even further ahead, you know, in a compounding fashion, I think. And so, yeah, that's all true. That's all important. I do believe all that. But this video is going to be a counterpoint to that. Because that sort of dogged pursuit won't make everybody happy. And I'm just not sure that it's said enough. As basic and as obvious as it sounds, being content and fulfilled is not secondary. It is the goal. It is the purpose. It's not trivial. So here's the thing. Here's the thesis. Career isn't the only thing in life. This little ride we're on, this little train, it is short as fuck. And I don't know if anything comes after this. So you really need to decide what makes you happy. And you need to take your journey deliberately. So that when you reach the end, you know, you don't look back with regret. Not as clean as the cards I usually pick up, but not complaining. Can never have too many earthbinds. Love the art. Love everything about it. You know, orienting your whole self around some future goal is a bit of a risky strategy if you want to make sure you don't reach the end and find regret, right? It's much better, I think, to orient yourself along a path that you'll enjoy walking. Back in university, my roommate was a really big Dave Matthews Band fan. You know, he'd go to all their concerts, he'd watch all their interviews, all their pirated live shows, which was apparently a subculture back in the early 2000s. I believe it was sanctioned by the band even. The people would go in with the recording equipment, they'd be led up front, they'd record the whole thing live, post it on news groups or whatever. I don't know. It was a whole thing. But I remember one interview with Dave Matthews when he was asked something like, what do you tell young artists who are struggling to break through and make it big? I don't remember the exact wording, but the question was sort of driving at the financial side. It was looking at the financial success that Dave and his band had, and it was sort of saying, like, what do you tell the young starving artist who wants to get to this level and make this kind of money? And Dave thought about it for a minute and said, and I'm not quoting, this was years ago, I don't remember the quote, but basically what he said was, if you want to make money, do something else. Don't do this for the money. There's easier ways to make money. Do this, he's talking about music, obviously. Do this if you love it. And that way you'll be happy even if the money never comes. And even though I'm not as much of a Dave Matthews Band fan as my roommate was, I found that to be incredibly wise, and it has stuck with me over the years. The thing itself needs to sustain you, not the hope for the end goal, for the end zone, not the hope of money or success or whatever you're defining that as. That stuff is great, obviously, but it can't be the part of the process that you're trying to find happiness within, right? If you are sitting at point A, your happiness cannot be tied up only in reaching point B. Why? Well, because all of those goals I mentioned are so damn hard. Building a business, sustaining a successful marriage, being an excellent parent, excelling at your career. These things take everything from you, and the odds are against you at doing it without tripping. You're going to fail along the way, and it's no way to live, and it's no legacy to leave if you didn't love the process. It just isn't. If my nerd side hasn't shown clearly enough, I suppose it will now, but I'll quote Brandon Sanderson, the words of the Lost Radiance in his Stormlight Archive books. Journey before destination, they say. That's one of the mottos that they live by. Journey before destination. You have to love what you're doing, basically. And the things you don't love are deliberate. You understand what they're doing for you. You understand why they're there. And they serve the purpose of enabling what you do love. And honestly, as cliche as it sounds, it's just true. It's just 100% true. And it's the same for entrepreneurs. You have to love the grind. You have to love building something. You have to be able to obsess over it. And this pivots around you as the individual and your individual values. I think there's a certain sense, I would say maybe more among younger people, but I don't know if that's entirely the case. But there's a sense I hear that if everyone could sort of be their own boss and find financial freedom, then everyone would want to do that. I mean, there's certainly a whole genre of gurus that pitch this precisely, that go as far as sort of saying that to work a regular job is to be a cog in the wheel. It's to give in to the system, to give up to the system. It's a form of losing. And, for some people that is correct. For some people that is true. But as a blanket statement, that is completely false. It is not true at all. And it deserves to be called out. If you want certain kinds of success, you will have to make certain kinds of sacrifices. But a sacrifice is not virtuous in and of itself. A sacrifice is only worthwhile if the thing you are sacrificing is lesser than the thing you're pursuing. Why is it considered heroic if a man jumps in front of a train and pushes a child out of the way and then gets hit by the train? That the reason that's heroic is because it shows that he was valuing his life less than the child's life. And so he was willing to sacrifice the lesser for the greater. If he instead jumped in front of the train to push a cat out of the way, he'd be called a fool. Or, suppose he pushed a child in front of a train to scare the cat out of the way. He saved the cat, killed the child, he'd be a murderer. So, all right, I'm going a little off course there, but I hope you see the point. I hope I didn't make it too fuzzy. It's not a contest of who sacrifices more in pursuit of their passion or their goal, right? It's a question of what you as an individual truly want from your life and what you're willing to give up to get it. So what's more important to you? These are questions you actually need to ask. You shouldn't take them for granted. You shouldn't be told what they are by society at large or by someone on YouTube. But what is more important to you? Is it money and wealth? Is it leisure and recreational time? Hobbies and arts? Friends and family? I make no implication about which of those it should be, because it's going to be different for each person. And it depends what makes you happy. And you have to be deliberate about that. You don't want to stumble into it. The chances that you're going to stumble into something that makes you happy are very unlikely. It is much better to think about what makes you happy and aim at it. But, myself as an example, I've been sort of introverted and obsessive since I was a kid. I spent most of 7th grade learning how to write programs on my TI-86 graphing calculator. Don't know if any of you guys had those things. I wonder if they're still around. Probably not. But, I didn't pay attention in class. I was often late to lunch because I was hiding in a corner of the library or the computer lab or something, just obsessing over whatever program I was writing. And, I couldn't stop. I couldn't be idle. And that made me happy. And I'm the same way now. But most of the people, that I went to school with, and most people I know now, are not like that. They wouldn't have enjoyed that. What was rewarding for me would not be rewarding for them. And that's not to say I'm right, they're wrong. It's not about that. So the bottom line is, just like Dave was saying, you really should never do it for the money, whatever it is. And, money is sort of an easy token to represent success, but whatever the goal is, doesn't have to be money. You should never do it just for the end goal. Because when you hit friction along the way, which you will, you need passion to drive you through it. If you don't love what you're doing, you will not persist after failing. You just won't. You won't. I'm sorry. Whereas if you love what you're doing, you will. And eventually, even if by no other means than the law of large numbers, if you do love what you're doing, you will persevere. And you will probably find the success you're looking for, whatever form that takes. And when you do, but even if you don't, and that's the key part, your journey wasn't wasted. It was enjoyed. And that's the thing. The reward isn't actually the success at the end of the road, like I said. It's the memories and the experiences from the journey taken. And I suppose the contentment of the path under your feet now. So, taking charge of your life doesn't mean working 80 hours a week and then in 10 years, you'll break through to complete financial freedom or whatever. Rudy had a very sort of motivating but also call to action video recently where he basically said, do something. Wealth is being transferred now. I work more than you. I'm going to get further ahead than you. I'm going to have more returns than you. He's right. But that doesn't mean it's going to make you happy unless that pursuit makes you happy. For him, I suppose I shouldn't speak for somebody else, but I'll say at least for me, that is true. It is the pursuit. When I, started to put together a successful business, it wasn't like, oh, okay, good, done, I did it. It was the process of doing it that I loved and wanted to keep doing and still keep doing. And I suspect Rudy's the same way, but not everybody is. So I think much better than just saying, step up, put in hours, I would say, be deliberate. Consider what you actually want and what sacrifices are worthwhile. And then you just gotta find a path that you can walk without regrets. You have to enjoy the road, because that's what's gonna matter. In the final accounting, that is what's going to matter. So, I guess try to be specific here and address my own video. One form of success is financial success, obviously. And one form of freedom in financial space is running your own business. But, let's be clear about that. It's a very strange kind of freedom. It's the kind of freedom where your time isn't free at all. I work all the time. I can't even manage to make 2 15-minute videos a week anymore. For me, that works. It's a trade-off that suits my personality. Most people aren't like that, and that's not a bad thing. There is more to life than working all the time, and I'm sure many people would not be content with my kind of social life, my typical day. Fine, fair enough. There are other kinds of freedoms. The freedom to pursue your leisure hobbies at will, for instance, is not trivial. My aunt is an artist. Her house looks like a museum. She's in her 80s now. She still teaches a course at Connecticut, at UConn, I think. She's painted her entire life, and for her, happiness was best served by working a part-time job that made enough money to pay the bills, and then she had enough left over to fund her art. And, our society just obsesses over this single dimension of financial success as if it's the most important thing. And it's not. Now, financial stability is pretty damn important. But, many studies have found again and again that once your financial situation is stable, your bills are accounted for, more money doesn't make you happier. At that point, money becomes more of a multiplier. If you're a happy person, more money makes you happier. If you're a depressed person, more money makes you more depressed. So it becomes a force multiplier at that point. But in any case, you'll need something more than just money to be happy. And to know what that is, you have to take the time to think about it. And then you can be deliberate with your choices, your sacrifices, and your goals. All those things should be deliberate. And I just sort of wanted that message out there as a counterpoint to stuff that I've said too, but also just what seems to be a bit in the zeitgeist these days. And if you haven't noticed, my general philosophy with life is that everything is complicated, more complicated than most people think. I don't believe there are very many clear answers. I think most of what each of us think is probably wrong in one or many important details. This is one of the reasons I'm fairly allergic to politics on both sides. I'm generally distrustful of anyone who thinks they've got it all figured out. Because as best as I can tell, there are almost no problems that can be reduced to a small enough variable set that any group of humans can properly do the accounting on it. And so, nuance and a genuine effort to try to see multiple sides of things is I think what the world needs a bit more of. So we should remain humble and open-minded. And so while I do believe the things that I said in my other videos, and I am sort of personally committed to that grinding mentality and building something, and I think it's much more attainable than people think. So I believe all those things, but I'm fully aware that that's not the only path that exists on this world, and it's not necessarily the path that will make you happy. And so, I just wanted that represented somewhere. I also wanted to hit the message because I think that this MTG hobby shouldn't be only about finance. And I realize the irony there because I tend to talk about finance a lot. For me, that's something I am interested in and care about. So it serves a dual purpose. But it's not the only thing that this is about. It shouldn't be. And yet, most places I look, that is sort of what it is. A lot of channels, like I said, including mine, are sort of about MTG finance. But even the ones that aren't, there's conversations about the reserve list and the price of cards, and they'll do box breaks, and there'll be a sort of running total of the pull value, and it's just the finance is becoming woven into this whole hobby, and it doesn't necessarily need to be. This can also just be about the game, or the collection, the collecting, the passion, the artwork, any of it, I mean, here's an example. Hold on. Okay, so see this card? Plane Shift. Just a random ass card. There's a foil treatment of this card. And then there's also this alternate art version, which I just love. I got a bunch of copies of it. I don't know anything about this card. Nothing. I don't know why it has this treatment. I don't know the context of these sort of alternate arts in Plane Shift. I don't know if it's playable. I don't know the print run. I don't care, though. I love how this card looks. I love the way the red foiling looks. I think the art is really cool. I like the idea that I'm probably the only one who cares about it, because it's just kind of a stupid card. And I love how rare it is. It's just really hard to find this card, especially in near mint condition, in English. I don't know why it's so hard. It just is. And so, I'm not recommending you buy this, by the way. My point is that this is not an investment. That is my point. So, if you see this and decide to go get one, you are getting the wrong message. My point is that sometimes the hobby can just be about the hobby, if that's what makes you happy. It doesn't have to be about the ROI and all that stuff. Let's see, I can actually reach another example from here. Hold on. Just putting this together as we speak, actually. Here, check these out. This is a complete set of the Streets of New Capenna gilded foil. And look, I don't care what you say. This looks so cool. That gold gilding is awesome. These are just beautiful cards. And this whole pile is worth, nothing. This is not a good financial move. This is money that I spent out of my discretionary budget. And I did it because I love these cards. In an era where there's a million treatments and, gilded foil will probably come back, this is not something that you would invest in or that you would think seriously about the price on. But I love how they look. And having this set, I'm going to put this in a binder, just made me happy. So I did it. Because investing is not the only way to be happy. It's not the only way to approach this hobby. It's not the only good use of discretionary capital. So, man, that was all over the map. I got to plan these things out a little better. TLDR, be deliberate. Journey before destination. And seek what makes you happy. Don't obsess over vague ideas about wealth or success, unless the pursuit, not the goal, will satisfy you in life. That would be my counterpoint and 2 cents of wisdom. Make sure you're going to enjoy the road you're walking on, not just the destination. All right, that's what I got today. Thanks as always for your time, guys. Another great take. Once again, the Hoard will sleep well. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching the video today. If you enjoyed it, it would help me out. It would help out the channel. If you could just let me know if you prefer trapezoidal prisms or hexagonal prisms. See you next time.